Back again, and with one of my favorite friends over here, Mel. Mel, you used to be from Sneakers Corner. Goodness sakes, we've known each other for years. You used to come down to Speakers Corner back when I was back in the United Kingdom. Where I would go down there on Sundays. I remember you would be in the audience, and you'd come out and eat afterwards, and we would always unpack. Remember, we used to unpack what the Muslims were saying, and what was always coming out was that they were not good on anything to do with history. They were not good with anything to do with confronting the Quran or confronting Muhammad, or at that time we weren't really confronting Mecca, but anything to do with the 7th century, they were hopeless. And you picked up on that. I remember you used to come and you used to bring your papers and your pencils, and you weren't very loud. You were very quiet. Yeah, you were always in the background. You were always sat there and took notes of what we were saying, and then you'd fly back and then back to Ireland, and then you come back the next week or 2 weeks later, and there you were again. And it was that kind of background, I think, that you and I interested, because even back then I wasn't really pushing the historical critique at that point. It was only when I left and came here to the United States back in 2017 that I realized that we really needed to push this envelope. This envelope hadn't been done. So, Mel, a little bit about where you've come from and what you're now doing, because you're opening a completely new channel. Am I not correct? And we'd like to have an introduction. Over to you.
Yeah, so I've decided really that, in the years that's gone by since I started Sneakers Corner, I was no longer interested in what was going on in Speakers Corner. Just as you say, really it was this historical critique that I was really engaged with all along. Occasionally I went and made videos in relation to Speakers Corner, but once I realized that the name no longer fitted, I needed to change to something better. And I was thinking, well, how can I name this? And I just thought, keep it nice and simple, Origins. And actually around that time, 2 or 3 years ago, before you really got in on the historical critique, I was feeding you emails, about, have you seen this? Have you seen that paper? And I think you were heading that way pretty much. But I think that over the last couple of years, you've really gone for it. And it's been an amazing ride since.
I actually started heading that way back in 1995 when I did my first debate on this very subject with Dr. Jamal Badawi there at Cambridge University. And we were talking, and I gave 10 historical challenges back then that I had pilfered from Dr. Patricia Corona. Well, pilfered, she gave them to me, and I was in her office. She actually went through the 10 challenges and said, you do this. I can't do this because of a chair that I'm protecting in an institution that I represent. But you can. You have the freedoms to do this, debate this. Let's see how they respond. Now, that was in 1995. We're 25, 27 years later, and still they don't have a response. And so I knew way back in the 1990s, the last century, that this was potent. I knew that, and I remember saying back then after the debate with Badawi, that this is the Achilles heel of Islam. If this man, who is the best they've got on the Quran in the English-speaking world, if he could not answer these 10 questions back in 1995, then we really have something here that is going to be a thorn in the side of Islam. And as you have seen, Mel, you saw that at Speaker's Corner when we started introducing it there, and we started going through some of these, nothing to the scale that we're doing now. I never had this kind of material. I wish I had back in 2015, 2016, 2017. So you pretty much came on board when I got, you really started sending me article after article, idea after idea, things that you kept on coming up with. And I said, wow, this is exciting stuff. And that's really which piqued my interest again, 25 years later, after having not really run it through. 25 years later, it was because of you, Mel, and also in others, but mainly you. I think you were the one that got me back on board again to get interested in it and to actually start doing it. So this is a new avenue, a new venture for you. You're moving now into a whole new realm. Explain it. Tell us, what is this new realm that you're talking about?
So my strategy going forward is I have 2 separate channels, a YouTube channel and a Rumble channel. And basically all of my new videos will be going on that, and it'll be focused solely on the historical critique. All my old videos are backed up on the Odyssey channel. And I think you're going to show an image of all of that information.
So here's the image. I'm going to put them up here and just kind of go through each one of these as you're looking at them. So the one you're talking about is the Origins at the top.
Yeah, so you'll see the link to the site, and you can basically find it by typing in that link. There's also keywords at the top, the hashtags. So if you put in origins of Islam as a hashtag, and you'll basically find not just videos from my channel, but any person who's making videos in relation to the origins of Islam, that will be the go-to. And if you want to narrow it down, if you put in words like, for example, Dome of the Rock, you'll be able to find all the videos to do with the Dome of the Rock. Actually, just before we went on air, I put in Dome of the Rock, and I saw David Wood's videos. I've also saw Islamic scholars' videos about the Dome of the Rock. They're all gathered together. So it's a really new, convenient way of finding videos and also finding the different channels. I've decided to continue with YouTube as well, because I noticed that a lot of people are uncomfortable about changing channels because that's what they're used to.
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue. All the new videos will go on both of those channels. And if people are curious about the old videos that I've done over the past 2 or 3 years, they're all backed up on the Odyssey channel. And basically, you'll see the link there. It's pretty easy to find. So that's it in a nutshell.
Explain to everybody the difference between YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey, because they really do have 3 different functions. If you could explain that to them.
Yeah, so basically, all 3 of them are websites, and they host videos. So the function of the website is basically to store the videos and allow you to play them. YouTube is the most dominant one in the market. I think they have an audience of about 90% of the video watching public. Rumble has a few percent. Odyssey is a much smaller share in the market. So that's essentially it. They're just websites to store videos, and you can see the same videos basically in each of these channels. And they're pretty much the same. There's not much really difference between them.
I would make a distinction between the 3. The first one is YouTube is the granddaddy. It's been there the longest. Yeah. It's been there since 2005. And YouTube is now been pushed and moving further and further to the left. Because they're moving further and further to the left, they are now striking out. They're striking off people that they don't like, who are conservative. Yeah. Both of us are very conservative when it comes, especially when it comes to the historical critique. This is a conservative critique. The people on the left do not touch this material. Yeah. Those of us on the right do. And you are seeing people like David Wood and Hatun Tash, especially, who get strike after strike after strike, because they're not just confronting Islam, the historical critique, they're confronting and actually mocking Islam. And YouTube doesn't like that. They don't like anything that is mockery or anything that is on the right. And so therefore, they're even striking off. They're throwing off lots of different channels.
Yeah. So this is kind of an
Rumble, however, is the alternative, and Rumble allows you to say anything. It pretty much is open to either left or right, but it's much smaller because it's come around much more recently. In fact, Rumble was created because YouTube was striking off so much and was eradicating the debate. You need to have the debate between the right and the left, or the center as well. You need to have all 3 positions in working against each other, because otherwise, how can you really come to any conclusions? And that's why Rumble was created as one of many. Actually, there's quite a few, but Rumble is probably the biggest right now of the alternatives, where there is no censorship. You're not going to get struck off. You can pretty much say anything you want as long as it's legal, as long as it's within the United States legal framework. Now,
I think
Odyssey.
Yeah, I was just going to. Sorry to cut you. I was just going to say that it's, in terms of our work, we don't typically get struck off, but I think the signs are on that increasingly going forward, the likelihood of having either videos taken down or even the whole channel taken down is a risk. So if people suddenly discover that our channels have been taken down, there's now at least a backup, so people know where to go. So if people want to be sure that they don't lose all this material, it'd be a good idea to sign up to both, so they have, and maybe even to all 3 of them, so that they have that backup.
Let me just explain Odyssey. Now, Odyssey is it is basically a repository. It's a repository for all of our videos. We don't do a thing. Both of us are signed up to Odyssey. Mine is under Pfander Films. Yours is under Origins. And every time we put a video up, within an hour, it's on Odyssey. We haven't done a thing. It takes everything. It takes the pictures, it takes the explanations, and it takes the video itself, and just leaves it there for eternity. So anytime we get thrown off of either YouTube, or we won't get thrown out of Rumble, obviously, because Rumble doesn't have that in its policy. But if we do get thrown off from YouTube, you can just go to Odyssey, Odyssee. I'll just put it up there again for you to see. And that will always have our videos repository, including all 700 of mine. That goes all the way back from the very beginning in 2006. That's when I started. So all of my videos are on Odyssey. The same thing with Mel. Now, Mel, yours are going to be much more. There aren't as many, obviously, because you're just getting started out.
Yeah, I think the beauty of all of these videos is it's becoming a digital library. So if you think of all the sin sifters, we're all producing videos focused on different aspects of that historical story. And I think in the round, people will get a lot of really key information that they can use if they're trying to persuade a Muslim that there's holes in the narrative, essentially. So I think these will be helpful. I think the hashtags that I mentioned earlier will also be really helpful for people to find those videos that they can't remember. Where did they see a certain video? How do I find it? Well, they can just put in a very simple hashtag name and they will find whatever material they want. So, for example, if they want to find something about Mecca, they can put the hashtag Mecca and they will find your videos, my videos, Odin's, and so on. And that's the beauty of it. So it just makes life a little bit easier. Yeah, especially when you want that kind of key information, which will help you, especially when you're debating Muslims about their history.
Good, great stuff. Now, please go to Origins. Let me just put the name again. You'll see it right down here in the description box below us. Please go to Origins, Origins of Islam, if you want to, or the whole tag is just Origins. Am I correct?
Yep. There's a slightly longer address for the YouTube one, but essentially, if you use the hashtag, you'll get there. If you put in Origins of Islam as a hashtag, you'll find the channel pretty quickly. And the channel is just simply called Origins.
And please subscribe. Please subscribe. He needs subscriptions, and the more subscriptions, the bigger the platform gets, the more people will hear about it, and the more people will come to it and watch the videos. That's what we're all about. We don't charge for this. We don't get any money because of it, and we obviously do this out of the kindness of our heart. But more than that, because it's a ministry for both of us, and for us especially, it's an academic exercise. Goes even beyond that, because we see just how efficacious this is and how it's important it is to make sure that this material on the Origins, as his channel is called, but also the material coming out of the Origins argument concerning the standard Islamic narrative, which I think, Mel, you coined, didn't you? I think we're giving you credit for that term.
Yeah, I think I first used it about 3 or 4 years ago, but my viewers have said that other people have used it prior to me. It may even go back 10 years, even more. So I can't really fully claim it. I didn't copy it from anyone, but others have used it before, so I can't really claim it.
I'm still going to give you credit because you were the first one to actually, for me to have heard it. And also it makes so much sense after Yasser Qadi talked about the standard narratives. What standard narratives? The standard Islamic narratives. Once he made that, put that and coined it, the rest of us have now run with it. And so it's been a great way to really unpack what is wrong with that standard Islamic narrative that's coming from the 9th and 10th century, getting back to the origins. What does the original text say? What do the original artifacts show? What are we finding happen in the original environment, in the 7th century environment? We're always going back to the 7th century, and your channel is doing just that. So go to his channel, watch the videos, and subscribe. Okay, this is Jay and Mel, a few thousand miles apart, but here we are. We can almost shake hands. We're so close to each other. Over and out.